Hi, this is The Greg Show, starring Gregory Struss. I'm Scotty-Joe Vegas, inviting you to stay tuned for the next 30 minutes, because you'll meet and hang out with woman's wellness expert, Norma Rixter. And plus, there's too much gumbo for the pot. And now here's the man who's paying for the shindig, Mr. Gregory Struss.
All right, thank you. It's silent. Thank you so much, and welcome to the Greg Show. There's so much scum on the pot. Are we? If we were near the Little Calumet River, it'd be a whole different story.
Too much gumbo in the pot.
Oh, too much gumbo in the pot.
That means there's too much good stuff coming.
Okay, all right. Gumbo is the soup that has a little bit of everything.
You got a little bit of everything, a little bit of sauce, a little bit of this, that.
Well, welcome back to the Greg Show. I am Greg Struss, and another winter storm is creaming the East Coast, including New York City again.
New York City?
Yes, Mayor Bloomberg is now trying to legislate how much snow can accumulate on people's fire escapes. I think that's what we call in the business a little throwaway. Anyway, a latest poll conducted by ABC News says that for the first time, more Americans approve of gay marriage than don't. Also in the news, Ryan Seacrest broke up with his girlfriend, Juliana Hope.
Poor thing.
Yeah.
No, I think she broke up with him.
Weren't they married?
Is her last name Ho or Huff?
H-O-U-G.
H-O-U-G.
I believe it's X-Ho.
Huff. It's something like that. Anyway, Jessica Simpson has a new fashion line out. You know what I think it's called? I'm Somebody, damn it. That's what her new line is. Yeah.
Where'd that one come from?
I don't know. I'm missing my mark. All right, there it is. You know, NBC? We're part of the NBC family, I think, on a certain level. They don't want to admit it, but NBC owns Comcast, and we are out here. So I think tangentially, is that the word?
Wow.
We are, that's our big word for the week, tangentially. We are associated with them on some kind of level.
Yes, sir.
And evidently there's a network executive that's peed off because Jay Leno has been making fun of NBC's dismal ratings. Now, it's reported that this NBC executive isn't mad at the jokes. He's mad that Jay Leno isn't funny.
Chin music, baby, chin music.
And Catholics have a new pope. How many shows are we going to talk about the Pope?
You're wearing them out.
The Pope is beginning work from the Vatican this week, but it's still going to be weeks before the old Pope smell disappears.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yes.
No reaction shot on that one. You know, it's kind of waiting for that delay. Hey, back on. Hey, back at you, Bob.
And in political views, finally in political news, the GOP wants to reach out to more women and minorities. So now the Republicans are kind of like my Uncle Jimmy. Creepy.
I thought you were supposed to stay away from that conversation today.
I did. I had an Uncle Jimmy. Every time my sisters would go over there, come and sit on Uncle Jimmy's lap.
He's not joking.
And I'm not joking. It was a real story.
I know when you guys cry, you actually are telling the truth.
Yes, we are telling the truth. Anyway, we have a wonderful program today. And you know why? Because I took a nap today before the show. I had about an hour and 45 minutes, and it was great. You got to have to take, and I'm going to have to talk to Norma about, you know, she's a women's wellness expert.
Together woman from what I see.
Absolutely. She's had a DVD. She's written books, periodicals. She's a keynote speaker. Also an ambassador for Coca-Cola. She has it going, and it's amazing the people that live in Oak Park.
Where did the Coca-Cola come from?
She is a Goodwill ambassador for, is she a Goodwill ambassador? We're going to find out if it's a Goodwill ambassador. She's an ambassador for Coca-Cola. And she's written a vegan cookbook, and you know, when I was living out in Seattle, that's where it was all real popular. I went into this place one day, and I asked for, they said, would you like a burger? And so I asked for this big burger, and it came out, and it was like getting ready to bite into the thing. It was cheese, mound of cheese on this burger, and it was just like this big mushroom.
Sounds
and
good.
I said, this thing is mushroom. She says, well, you're in a vegan place. What do you expect? And that was it. So anyway, Norma Rixter is on the program. I don't know what that story was going to... It really wasn't. I had to leave, yes. And we have other...
Did you fart?
Pleasant... I don't think mushrooms... Yeah,
that doesn't do it to you?
No.
Okay.
No. And other pleasant surprises. Anyway, I am Greg. This is The Greg Show, and we are reinventing television from the West Side, and we'll be back in just a moment.
All right. Whoopee!
We had a.
Be careful how you
I'm going to word this right. We had a.
I feel like we're doing an info. Are you sure we're not an infomercial tonight? Tell me, if you were a color purple, what would you be?
The thing we got in trouble most recently with management and that sort of thing, there was a young woman that called us at 9 o'clock in the morning and was a self-proclaimed nymphomaniac, and then chose to prove it over the telephone to us.
And that's as far as I think we should go.
Right.
Yes.
And then she called back the next day and said she had a personality disorder and she had multiple personalities.
Was she Sybil?
With a vibrator.
Yes.
Okay, we are back. Thank you. And welcome back to the Greg Show. Coming to you from our magnificent facilities here in Elmhurst. Now, as I walked in tonight, and Scotty-Joe Vegas is with us,
Yes,
I was a little, shall we say, ham-fisted, confused,
Yes.
Baffled,
Sideswiped.
because, there is a network out here. Comcast has the CN 100 network, and they also do shows in this studio. I think I'm trying to think of the political show that airs on HLN. What is that called? Political. What's his head? No. What? Political Connection. What is that show? And then they also have they produce Community Connection. So we walk in. This is what's known as a shared facility. We share it with other shows.
It's good to share.
Right. So you have us on the community side that come in and do our shtick, and then the network has their shows that they do here. So I walk in today, and it looked like there was a murder scene.
It was, yes.
And so I don't know if they're getting ready to shoot a pilot called CSI Comcast, but look at this. You have
police tape.
The police tape and everything, and I just was like, what is going on here?
And a letter there that says, don't go across that line.
Don't cross that line. So I just wasn't sure what it was. So I was having a conversation with everybody on the show. I'm like, what do you think this is? So we didn't pass the line, and I don't know if they're going to be airing that show, CSI Elmhurst, on the Comcast network or what.
They're troubled. Someone did something.
Someone did something,
Yes.
and
it wasn't us. We apologize.
No, the only thing
we did. I'm sorry.
I'm
sorry.
So there's these really nice tables. Can you get a shot of it? There's a real nice
Those
table
are the tables that used to be on your
set.
set.
We used to use these tables, and now because they're past the line, we didn't use this table. So we decided to do this, and now I'm going to have to ask for a number 2 and a number 7.
Wappa, wappa.
Anyway, you can now watch The Greg Show on YouTube with this keyword, Greg Struss, on YouTube. So you go to YouTube and then do the search.
Yep.
And then people are like, well, send me a link. Like, is it too dang hard to go on and type it in? And, oh, well, I'm busy. 2 points and a click, as they say.
There are some people watching you in Florida. There are people watching you all over the United States. And I'm so very proud of you.
Thank you so much.
It took a long time to get going.
But and this is interesting because people in Germany can watch us, people in Sweden, and that's what's neat about the whole online experience.
Yes.
But the online viewing experience is a totally different viewing experience than watching it as we call linear, live on a television. So who would have thought, like back in the day when we were doing this, that we would be on, we could be on in Croatia and have a big following.
Actually, I talked to somebody from Hungary, and they watched the show over there as well. I'm serious.
Did you speak to them in that language, or what?
They understood English through England, so I had to go, yes, love, yes, yes. But that was about it.
Yeah.
It was short. I look good in my chins. I'm not I'm unemotional. Did I tell you that? I got zinged before we went on the camera here by your sister that says I suck as a person. But it's okay. She didn't mean it that way. She was trying to help me.
See, we talk like while we're making some changes here, we discuss.
Because I'm tearing things apart.
No, we discuss some things and just having a nice chat.
What sister was it? Did we say that? No. Okay then. You're safe with me then.
It was your little sister.
So we have these conversations in between. Sometimes they're appropriate, sometimes they aren't. I think this one was appropriate.
Can I sing a song right now?
No. And we wanted to know a little bit about your hair. What's going on with it?
It's my St. Patrick's Day red bush. That's what it is. My mother says it looks like crap, and I'm like, hey, St. Patrick's Day. I'm Polish, but, hey, everybody's Irish.
See, I've known you for I've known you for 30 years now, and I've never knew that you were Polish, because you used to always talk about, if you ain't Dutch, you ain't much. Because I thought D. Young, when I was living in Michigan, everyone was a D, and they had the big white teeth and blue eyes. And
my great-grandfather had a complex, and he wanted to hide up his Polish heritage, which I want to bring it out and bring life to it. And there you go.
Right. And what do you say, like, when we go away to the break? Because I've been listening to this now. I'm like, what did he say? What is it? And my father used to always say "Dziękuję pan," and then, or "Patsawi," and then I started saying that to people when I was out, and they're like, "Oh no, you don't say that." So it's interesting to know different languages and such.
Is. There's street language. There's relationship language. There's a lot of language.
Do you think that there's like where you have like thug type language where everyone in the hood is like can you imagine like Polish thug? Like,
it's there.
Really?
Yes.
And what do you think some of the meanings or the connotations, are they the same?
They emulate the American culture, like in Bosnia and like the Czechs and the Serbs. You go over there, you're like, oh my God, it's like Vanilla Iceland. Mm-hmm. But I don't have much more.
Okay. Now, Aunt Jeannie was with us back in October and recently had surgery, and I guess she's been, we miss her. Where has she been?
She's in her house in Shannon, Illinois, and she wishes you, much luck. All the people down in Florida that are watching on YouTube in the rehabilitation center, they're all like, oh, that's Scotty-Joe Vegas. Oh, I love him. And they love you too, of course. But it's my aunt. I mean, so she's going to try and push the fathead guy. But
do they like coleslaw down at Florida?
Yes, they do. Actually, my aunt greased all the people at the nursing home to get extra. She had a private room, her own TV.
Yeah.
Pizza Hut, Burger King, on a drop of a hat.
Of course. All right.
I'm sorry.
Well, you're talking about
but
your
you're looking good.
Well, thank you.
You look like you lost some weight.
A little.
No, a little.
I don't know, like 15, 20. I'm on my way, something like that. Yeah. So I wish I could say it was through diet and exercise, but I'm just moving.
Thank you.
And thank you. What's that?
You.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
And thank you.
What do you want?
Happiness. I want everybody to get along.
I think that's what we all want. Yeah, I think that's what we all want. All right, Norma.
Celine's here.
Yeah, Celine is here. Celine.
Her boys aren't here.
Her boys are not here. Let's welcome Celine. And you know what? I never formally introduced Celine. Celine works on the show.
Yes.
And so I was having these conversations, and I think some people thought that Celine and I have kids together, and we don't. But if we did, we know they'd be beautiful. And her kids are beautiful, but I know that if Celine and I had kids, they would be beautiful,
They
right?
would be beautiful. Right?
So I'm talking about Celine a couple weeks ago, and I'm watching, as I'm working on the show, and I'm like, well, people don't know who Celine is. So it wasn't like we were lovers So Celine works on the show. She's kind of a mystery person behind the scenes.
You've known her since high school.
I have known her since high school. We used to go to prom and other things, other events.
Other
right?
things, McLean.
Yeah.
Come
It's a
quiet,
very
man.
ambiguous statement.
It's an ambiguous statement because, I wanted to make it sound more provocative than what it really was. All right. When we come back, Norma
Do I really have a
Rixter,
red bush?
on your head.
Really, it's red?
Yeah. Norma Rixter is a women's, what do we say? A women's wellness coach. Expert. Right. She's appeared on Oprah. She also has some interesting DVD and some other things. We're going to talk with her. And I don't really know. That's it. Right?
I'll be emotionally unattached over
And you'll be emotionally unavailable over there. Anyway, we will be back in a moment with Norma Rixter after this. Thank you.
Only Monkey Chuck playing, running around. Helicopter.
It's not the way that it seems. Everybody wants somebody's dream, but it's in for you. I live I'm meant to use my body to use that top suit. The atom bomb under my feet. Yeah.
Give it up for the caustic hot. Rick Savoir-Faire. The great Daryl Nathan.
But it's not too soon. No, no.
The great Daryl Nathan.
Her leaves are falling out the trees. Her leaves are falling out the trees.
Okay, we are back. And our guest this week is a women's wellness expert who has a very interesting DVD. And Norma Can Cook. It's a vegan cookbook. As I was saying earlier, that this is big out in the Pacific Northwest, and it's a pleasure to welcome Norma Rixter to our program.
Thank you,
Hello,
thank
how
you,
are you?
thank you.
Now, I liked your story that at age 40, you experienced a health crisis.
Yes.
And then decided through this life-changing event that you would get into nutrition and wellness.
Yes.
And then you were talking a little bit, so let's pick that up a little bit.
Well, what happened at age 40 is I actually started experiencing what they thought were symptoms of multiple sclerosis, MS. I was having difficulty in terms of vertigo. And then it started to progress into where I was having issues being able to tell a hard surface from a soft surface. And that's when I knew that it was absolutely neurological. So I knew something was going on with my brain. So I was on medications. They put me on a number of medications, but I was still having the symptoms, and they were progressively getting worse. Mm-hmm. I was also having difficulty breathing. I actually developed or I don't know what they call it, caught a virus, but I had a virus. And I was just having declining health, and I literally thought I was going to die. I was in such a weakened state. So as time went on, I got to a point I wasn't working. I was staying at home and sleeping most of the day. So that was at one of my lowest points, and that's when I got real spiritual. And I actually prayed a prayer, and I asked God, because I felt I'd always taken my health for granted, because weight was never my issue. It was, I ate whatever I wanted.
You've been real lucky.
Yeah, I ate whatever I wanted, and as much of it as I wanted to. So, and I never exercised. So,
3 out of 3.
Also, it put me, and I realize now that it put me in the worst state of health in my life. And I prayed that prayer, and I said, God, if you help me to get well, I'll never take my health for granted again. And I'd say a few days later, a friend of mine called and put me in touch with a holistic nutritionist. That was the label or the title she gave herself, and the rest is history. I've never looked back. She put me on a vegan diet. Basically stripped me. I was on a raw vegan diet, so all the foods that I was eating were raw. They weren't cooked. I didn't eat anything cooked for, I would say, approximately maybe about 5 years from that point going forward. And people say, where did the fitness come in? Well, I had to get well enough to start exercising. I wasn't well enough to exercise, and so that's when things turned around, was when I changed my diet.
It's interesting that as one goes through a life-changing event, how it deals with mind, body, spirit, self, God, a higher power, and working with others.
Absolutely.
And it's funny how, even and I was telling you this earlier about,
Right.
recovery work, people that have been addicts and they deal with that. A lot of that also deals with wellness because you're dealing with the body, the mind, and the spirit.
Yeah, I think it's always, that's what we're always dealing with. There is no separation. People try to say mind, but it's all integrated, totally integrated, and you really can't deal with one without dealing with the other. And that's what I found is, I think I shared with you earlier, and I thought, I was pretty much self-centered and kind of thought it was all about me. Well, I'm well now, and I realize now in hindsight that I had been given a chance through my own experience to have that walk, that experience, so I could share it with others from not just a standpoint of you should do this or you should do that, but being able to share my own personal experience. And that's where I find that I have the greatest impact, because I'm able to touch, move, and inspire others. When you've been there, then it's a totally different walk than just an assumption or a projection, or I've read a book about when you say I have walked this walk and this is my journey, and that's what I share with people, and it makes a powerful impact whenever I speak. So, and I do work with AARP. I do a lot of women's health fairs, because that's kind of my niche market is women. So, because I always think, people say, well, why don't you deal with the men? And I say, well,
because we're difficult.
Yeah, that's it. Too difficult.
And
too difficult.
What's really strange is that I think men have, not me.
Of course not you.
I was raised with 3 sisters, and so I think when you have sisters, it's totally different than when you have brothers.
That's true.
And I just think that there's still a lot of the issue of, well, what is a woman going to tell me kind of thing. Have you run into that or not?
No. Actually, just the opposite.
No, I don't want to sound ignorant, but it ignorant in the sense that I'm speaking for men, but I wonder sometimes if that's...
You know what, I've actually, Greg, my experience has been absolutely just the opposite. They are saying, I have men all the time say, why don't you, can I get your card? Can you, I need some help, because I think that there is a perception that men don't listen to women or that are not interested. They're just meat and potatoes, and they're going to eat meat and potatoes, and they're going to do what they do. And they're finding that...
It pretty much describes me.
that is not working in terms of, and where they get that message from is when they go to their doctors. And the doctor says, you need to make some changes. And they're not quite sure what changes to make. So they're much more, I think men, I'm finding people, period, are just much more open. I don't have to suggest, recommend anything. People come to me and say, can you tell me, can you help me? They're looking for it. I don't have to try to convince people anymore, because they're convinced by their own health or lack of good health.
The last time I went to the doctor, it was a female doctor, and she said to me 3 times, as she's poking me, she said, you really could benefit from an exercise program.
Oh.
And I never went to see her again. All right, when we come back...
Okay.
Not once, not twice, then Lisa.
Okay.
Your blood work was great, but by the way, you could benefit from an exercise program.
Yeah, that's a nice way of saying it.
I'm like, thank you so much. I'll see you soon.
Yeah.
All right, when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about, we're going to talk about nutrition and the book and the video with Norma Rixter, and we'll be back in a moment. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. We have returned, everybody. Thank you. Talking with women's wellness expert, Norma Rixter. And Norma can cook. Norma can cook. Now, I was telling this story. I went to this vegan restaurant, and it was like it was the nastiest experience of my entire life.
Oh, gosh.
Other than one of my first dates in high school. And... well, that was more embarrassing. But so I went to this place, and I said I wanted a burger. They said, well, we'll give you a burger, and it was this big portobello mushroom.
Yeah.
And I was like, what is this? And they all looked at me like, you don't eat mushrooms? And I'm like, what kind of place is this?
Yeah.
What kind of place doesn't serve
hamburgers? Yeah.
We're a vegan place, but the movement out there is very popular.
It's because they have found that there is a not indirect but direct correlation between what you eat and how you feel, what you eat and your overall state of health. I mean, it's not an indirect, so it's not just, well, it's nice to eat these kinds of food and you won't gain weight. And it's actually not about weight, because I think I mentioned earlier that when I was at my sickest, I was still a size 4. I mean, so it's not about weight. I mean, thin just means thin. It doesn't mean healthy. So we have come in this society to believe that, well, if you're overweight, then automatically that means you're unhealthy, and if you're thin, that means you're healthy. It doesn't have anything to do with one another. From the standpoint of maybe you've got less weight on your joints and you won't have as many, problems in terms of mobility, but your organs are still suffering if they don't get the right amount of nutrients.
Now there's a difference between the vegan and what's the other?
Vegetarian.
Now, vegan, no milk. You can have
vegan
eggs.
Is the original vegetarian.
But
they've just changed it. No, they've just changed it. People want to be something other than, just I have a normal American diet. So they started saying, well, I'm an ovo-vegetarian, meaning I eat eggs, or I'm a pesci vegetarian. I only eat fish. If you eat fish and vegetables, you just eat fish and vegetables. This has nothing to do with being a vegetarian. A vegetarian was originally the original vegan, which meant you didn't eat anything that had a face, and you didn't eat anything that came from or was a byproduct from an animal, which would mean your eggs, your milk, all of your dairy products, butter.
And then it's like, well, what else is there left?
Everything else. I mean, and that's the beauty of now, is that when I go to, and I know every vegan restaurant in the city, outside of the city, because I explore these places, because I'm always looking, because people think that when you become a vegan or a vegetarian, you've lost your taste buds. So they try to serve you, lettuce and tomato and a little lemon juice, and they're like, are you good with that? And it's like, no, I'm not. We haven't lost our desire for good taste and texture. And that's just done now. People are understanding more through your variety of using all these wonderful herbs and flavors and textures. So that's why you get faux things like, you get, they have faux chicken now, and they have crab meat, and it's made out of texturized vegetable protein. But the thing is that when you go to a restaurant like that, there are those that, and I call it in the purest sense, they want just the mushroom versus texturizing that or combining that with a number of different flavors.
You can have like olive oil and
Oh, I do. Now there's some that say, that's not a pure vegetarian. I've heard people say, are you a vegetarian? You eat honey? Well, honey's from a bee. It's from the flower. And they say, oh, that's excrement from a bee. I'm like, really? Well, guess what? I'm okay with that.
There's so much information.
Yeah.
We really appreciate you coming out.
Thank you.
People want to contact you. What is the website?
The website is normasgreathealth.com.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
Well,
Norma Rixter.
Thank you.
Greg Struss, thank you so much. Scotty-Joe Vegas, thanks for coming out. You can watch us on Greg Show at YouTube. Right, .com, and that's it. So thank you for watching. We'll see you next week. Good night, everybody.
Great.